All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to our first ever Wednesday evening.
Night, Grace, or Wednesday evening.
Wednesday evening, Grace. Yes. Excited to be sharing space with you guys. It's a new season for us here at Divine Order of the Sacred Rose, and we're kicking it off with a little bit of a tweak to our schedule. We're here obviously at 5 o'clock Eastern. Reverends Marianne and Jamie will be back at this same time next Wednesday, and then Reverends Carolyn and Dawn will be back on the following Sunday at 11 a.m. So all those details are posted, but suffice to say that we're excited to be sharing space with you guys.
It's very exciting.
He's distracted because his cat's right next to him.
I'm not sure what
Of
she was
course.
doing there, but anyway, we're very excited to be here on a new time. Same space, I guess. No, not space and time, but very excited to be here and talk about embracing the inner teacher.
The teacher within.
The teacher within.
Yes, yes, yes. Before we get there, just wanted to mention that the end of September is the end of our fiscal year. And while we have very low expenses as a nonprofit, we do have expenses. And so what we are doing for the remainder of this month is just asking that if you are able to donate any amount, we would greatly appreciate it. Our fundraising goal is $888.
888.
Yeah, that covers our expenses. And, you know, it would be, you know, whether you can donate $5, $10, $50 or more. What we are doing is we are offering laminated tenants, tenant cards, one wallet size, one 4x6 size, to donations of any amount. And then for any of you who might feel called to buy a set of your own prayer stones, you've seen us use before.
An example.
I trust it's all good, right?
And they're beautiful river stones.
They
They
really
come
are.
in different colors. They have the Divine Order of the Sacred Rose logo on the back. And we use them like tarot cards or angel cards. And we will pick one a little bit later for the tenant of the day.
Specifically. So donations of $150, and we will ship you one of these beautiful sets of 13 tenant stones for your own prayer work. All right, so in typical, God knows how many planets are retrograde and Mercury is retrograde fashion, I had all these notes typed out and I went back to look at them, and it's blank. It's just blank. I put it in an email to myself and the email's still there, but there's no content. So clearly the angels wanted us to just really do this as a channel. All right.
Do it on the fly.
Do it on the fly.
Flow with it.
So embracing the teacher within, what does that mean? You know, we did a bunch of preparation earlier today, and there were two themes that came forward. And the first one, I'm gonna invite you to introduce because yeah, this is your thing. And before we go any further, welcome to those of you who are joining us here live. And we'd love to hear from you if you're feeling inspired to comment, and by recording too. We are here for you. And you know what? While you're doing that, I'm going to share us to the Living with the Angels group because I didn't do that yet. So go for it. Hi, Jamie.
Okay. And I would suggest shutting that window because we're getting a lot of road noise.
I will.
So the first thing that came to mind when Elvia asked me about this was something that happened Sunday when I played soccer. And so to give you a little bit of history, I've been playing soccer since I was 14. I first started playing soccer, and I first started playing soccer goalie. And what happened in the game was there was a guy that was on slightly to the side of the field. And when you're playing goal, for those of you who don't know soccer, you kind of, as a goalie, you kind of orient yourself to the shooter, to that side of the goal, to cover the closest part of the goal, because they can kick the ball there faster, but you kind of give up the far side of the goal. And so what happened was the guy took a shot And normally I've been kind of conditioned that you backpedal so you can keep your eye on the ball and try to backpedal fast enough to tip it, catch it, or tip it over the goal. But in this case, I knew in an instant that I could just tell by the trajectory that it was going to go clear to the back corner, and the goal's 24 feet wide. So I just knew that I would not be able to backpedal fast enough to get there, and the goal was going to go in. So my inner teacher said, play it like a baseball player would. And if you ever watched baseball, you'll see the outfielders, when it's going far over their head, they will turn and run so that they're running forward to try to catch up to it. Now, I honestly, in 45 years of playing soccer, do not remember ever doing that style. But I followed my inner teacher, and I was able to get to the ball enough that I was able to tip it wide of the goal just as it was starting to cross the goal line, and the ball has to go all the way over the goal line. So anyway, my inner teacher was right. He told me, turn and play it like a baseball player. I did. I saved the save, and they didn't score.
So much about following guidance, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. But what kind of stood out was, I often look at that thing as sort of not separate from me. And this instant felt very separate from me. It was like
teacher you.
Teacher me, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, oh, I should have thought about, I should have thought about turning like a baseball player.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. So you were talking about how the teacher helps to, embracing the inner teacher helps us to break patterns and to do things that maybe break away from habits and sort of automatic programmed responses, right?
Right, exactly. Because like I said, I historically would have backpedaled,
Right.
and I would have been too late. It definitely would have gone in.
He was so happy when he came home after his game.
My teammates were happy too.
So cute. Yeah, so it made me realize kind of a similar story related to that happened for me recently. I went back to, some of you know that I had hip replacement surgery June of 2021. And I recently went back to the orthopedic surgeon's office to talk about my other hip, because my other hip was kind of cranking, and I just wanted to kind of figure things out. And part of the problem, it's bursitis. It doesn't have to be replaced. Yes. But part of the challenge is that my body is still limping. I'm still limping a little bit. And what the woman at the orthopedic office said was that my mind, because my hip had deteriorated quite a bit before I had surgery, my mind still thinks that I need to limp, but I don't, because there is no discrepancy. And so I found that to be really fascinating. I mean, obviously great news, but also really fascinating, because the mind is so powerful. And we have, I had this pattern, this habit of that started from a place of need back when I, had stage 4 osteoarthritis. But it's not a need anymore, but the mind hasn't caught up with that yet. So I've been spending time every day just like talking to that side, like, it's okay, like, you're good.
You can walk.
We're the same size, the same length, we're good. But it's amazing the habits and patterns that we carry and don't even realize, that are there. And I think that's what the teacher within, when we tap into that and listen, really can help us to identify and remedy.
And well, it was reinforced for, I don't know what, 6 months, a year.
Oh, the limping?
The limping pattern.
I was talking to my chiropractor about it. This actually started back in 2013. So
years.
Years.
And that may take more focus with the teacher. If it's something like that it's gone on for years, that may take more focus with the teacher to
Right.
help
To
change
get
it,
the
change it
lesson,
back.
like, right?
You got to get it.
Oops. Sorry. He just had some things frozen off yesterday. And I just hit him. Oh, well. So, yeah, I think it's like really listening for those voices that are helping us to do things differently, to consider how we engage in something in a new way. Does that feel complete to you?
It does. One of the other topics that came up was the teacher doesn't always get the message. So the teacher doesn't always get the message that the teacher can relay to you. The example I want to give is I was working fairly recently with a coach, and over the years, it's like I've just been in a prayer circle where you take a deep breath. Been in, heard people say, oh, just take a deep breath. But I was working with this coach, and she was doing some of that breathing with me. And since working with her in certain situations, and my focus was about reducing my stress. And so in certain situations, and there were a couple that came up as I was driving my daughter and her 2 cats and 5 plants from Philadelphia to LA. And
Easy peasy.
but the teacher stepped in. I kind of finally got that. Like other times I've kind of stopped myself and done deep breaths, but it's becoming more automatic for me because the teacher steps in when I'm feeling tension, when I'm starting to feel stress or distress, and take a deep breath, Peter. So I take a deep breath, and that kind of helps break the cycle, because stress is very cyclical. You feel stress, you feel, you tighten up, you feel more stress, you tighten up more. You stop breathing.
All the hormones kick in too.
And hormones kick in. But what I'm ultimately trying to get at is, in all of those other things that happened previously, the teacher didn't fully connect with that message or with instructions that it could give to me in those situations, to take a deep breath, pause, take a deep breath.
I don't understand. How did the teacher not connect? I don't get that.
Well, either the teacher didn't get the lesson, or I was not connecting with the teacher in that situation. You could look at it two different ways.
It's interesting because I look at the teacher as being the one that's all knowing.
I guess I was looking at the teacher.
This is off script, by the way.
I was looking at the teacher didn't absorb the lesson because the lesson wasn't directed at the teacher. And so that brings me to a third point that I wanted to make, was give the teacher power, give the teacher an assignment. So if there's something you're trying to break, you're trying to give up caffeine, you're trying to give up, you're trying to make a pattern change. It's like, talk to your teacher. It's like, if I start to do that, tell me to take a deep breath, or whatever it is.
Interesting. I'm processing, as you guys can probably tell, because I really think of the teacher as being like Jesus, or omniscient. I never can say omniscient. Omniscient force, voice, guide, and what you're suggesting is different from that. So, which you guys, all of us, have to define teacher, the inner teacher, in the way that feels most right. So I'm not trying to correct you. I'm just reflecting. That's not how I see it. So
I guess my teacher didn't go to the mystery school. He's learning on the fly, like me.
Learning on the fly. Maybe he's sitting up there.
It could be.
Yeah, interesting. Because I think for me, another aspect of embracing the inner teacher, which is a little different from what we've been talking about, but is just staying curious. I think our world, it can be so easy to shut down curiosity, to just plug into whatever's on TV or Netflix, or hide and burrow is the word I'm getting, into whatever it is that sort of feels like protection. But I think one of the things that becomes fallout from doing that is losing a sense of curiosity. And, even one of our tenants, I trust it's all good, in things that happen to us that may not feel good, there's something to be learned. There's something to be understood. There's things to be curious about. And, it's easy to be curious when things are easy, and it's harder, obviously, when they're not. But there's that aspect of learning. And then there's the aspect of, I love listening to inspirational podcasts, to audiobooks, to, reading things. And I think, it can also be easy to get to a certain point in life and say, well, what's the point in learning anymore? What's the point in whatever? I already know what a butterfly bush looks like, but do you really know? I actually was listening to this podcast the other day, and this woman was saying how important it is to be bored, in the sense that boredom has the space for us to explore. And she was talking about going outside with a magnifying glass and like looking at moss, which I haven't done yet, but we have some moss in the backyard. I'm thinking, wow, that could be like a whole kingdom in there.
There could be.
In the moss.
And part of what you're saying, not exactly, but I guess a corollary or an offshoot of that is pushing you out of your comfort zone. Because I think we burrow into things that we know,
right,
because it's comfortable.
Right.
And a mundane example of that I was talking with Elvia before is that they just moved my website, and it moved from Red Hat Linux to Ubuntu, which is a new type of Linux. It has slightly different commands.
People don't know what Linux is.
So Linux is a software program, but it has new commands. So it's like if somebody changed the commands on Windows, computer Windows for you. So it's frustrating, but it kind of pushes me out of my comfort zone, because I've been doing Linux, Red Hat Linux, for 25 years. And so now I'm having to learn some new commands, but I'm hoping there's value in it. At least it's making me do some research and approach it a little different.
Keeping you curious.
Keeping me curious.
Yeah. And I think playfulness is a big part of curiosity. So speaking of playfulness,
I feel like we're being watched.
Well, we are being watched, but I kind of want to show these guys. Rosie's going to take you on a little quick trip, because
I'll wait here.
This is about kind of being curious. So we built in our family this whole story based on, and Jamie, if you're still there, you're going to love this, based on what happens here. That's our Rosie girl. And so Peter came up with this whole story that now the whole family riffs on. You get to say it.
So the story is named, the short name is Rosie's Cafe, but the longer name is Rosie's Cat Raff Cafe. Because if you look at that window from the outside, it's kind of like a takeout, drive-in takeout window, except
she's accepting orders right now.
It's about 6 feet off the ground. So you would have to have a really tall neck to be able to, meet her face to face and make your order. And so the riff is that they're half cat, half giraffe. So they have a cat head, but they have this long neck, so that when they walk up to the window, their head is at her height, at the window height.
So there's all kinds of different variations on a theme with Rosie's Cat Raff Cafe. And
if you want to pre-order the book, no. I've got it in my mind that's a book I got to write someday, but it's a ways from that. So
Gigi's the bouncer. She's bouncer of the cafe because she's kind of like a rough and tough girl. But anyway, without, the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because, daily life routine can be hard. And I get it, sometimes it doesn't feel like you're able to do that. But the more that I think we can be curious and stay in the imagination. And I was just writing today about allowing the impossible. It all starts somewhere, and it all starts with the curiosity to see what we are able to create. And I think ultimately that's what the teacher within is here to do for us, however you define it, is to help us reach our highest potential of creation.
And it's teaching us to look at, it's teaching us to look at life from a different perspective.
Right.
That Rosie's Cafe is a different world, really.
It exists somewhere. All right.
Card for the day.
Shall we?
Card for the
week.
For the grace.
Card for the grace. This is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle by, now I can't see it, Alberto Villado and Colette Barron Reed.
While she's shuffling.
All right. So let's see what the angels have in store for us this week.
Dun, 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 dun.
And do let us know your impressions. I would love to hear what you guys think about, what's your definition of the teacher within, and what's your experience? What do you feel you want to share? And what you want to order at Rosie Cat Raff Cafe. All right. Woodwives, adaptability. Interestingly enough, this came up adaptability came up in a conversation I had today with a client, because I think adaptability is a life skill right now.
And it's perfect. I mean, what do you do with the teacher? The teacher helps you
to adapt.
And
we're constantly adapting. We're so afraid of change, and yet we adapt to it all the time. Like we close the windows when it gets too loud or too cold or whatever. We're always adapting, and I think it's beautiful. This also, I can't help but look at this and see a mushroom in that image, which is not the intention of this card. I think it's a little being, but it looks like a mushroom, which is just
like mushroom trunk,
like growth
in particular.
Yeah. And I just ordered some mushroom sheets. What is gate 64?
It's in the mind.
No.
Blanking. I was wondering that. Where's Jamie?
Where's Jamie? Right, gate 64. So it's in the head or the ajna?
It's in the head.
Interesting. So we can post that in the comments below. Oh, also wanted to mention that we will put the link for any donations in the comments below. Again, anything that you feel you are able to contribute, we would be greatly appreciative. So speaking of which, you want to pick a stone? No, not that one.
No, I have to change. The outer teacher told me to.
Now I need to know what one you were doing for.
I am compassionate in every moment.
That's so perfect.
Put that up again. Did that quickly.
Perfect. This was I surrender to my soul's purpose through sacred prayer.
And I think both could be fitting for working with a teacher.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. All right. So shall we
say all 13?
Let's do it.
We shall.
So as you are able and guided, invite you to join us as we recite the 13 tenets of the Divine Order of the Sacred Rose. I open my heart with deep gratitude and intend today to master my spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energies.
I am dedicated to my spiritual practice. I surrender to my soul's purpose through sacred prayer. I own my guidance. I live in partnership with my angels. I serve with a loving heart. I am compassionate in every moment. I trust it's all good. I allow immediate forgiveness. I honor my truth. I listen to the spiritual messages within my physical body. I express myself creatively. I love all beings with an open heart and an open mind. I am one with Mother Earth, and so it is. Do you feel complete?
So much love to each and every one of you. Thank you for joining us here, whether live or by recording. We look forward to being with you here again next week. Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern is our Reverends Marianne and Jamie.
And I was going to point out, if you put your comments on what you feel is the inner teacher, then perhaps Reverend Marianne and Reverend Jamie can comment on what that is.
Weave that into their piece. Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Much love. Many blessings. Be well.
Be
everyone.
well.